Well, hello, scrappers. This is going to be kind of a different video. Today, we're going to talk about buying chips on eBay for scrapping out for their gold and precious metals content. And I just wanted to talk to you about what kind of deals you can get on eBay or what is not really a deal. Because basically, if you're paying for chips, you want to get them as cheap as possible and you want to get the best kind of chips possible for, the ones that produce the best, the ones that produce the largest amount of gold and silver and whatnot. You don't want to get low quality chips at a high price. That's just throwing money away. You want to get chips as cheap as possible and the best kind of chips for producing gold and precious metals. So we'll look at a few listings on eBay, and I'll give you my opinions on whether they're any good or not. Okay, let's get started. Well, okay, here's the first listing we're going to look at, and it's a kind of interesting listing. It certainly caught my attention. We get 69 pounds of IC chips for gold recovery. That is a big bin of IC chips. And the price at $749.99, $750 basically, is not a bad price. I would like to get my chips between $10 and $15 a pound if I can. Generally, on random mix of IC chips at $10 to $15 a pound, I can at least break even and generally make a bit of a profit. And if they're higher quality chips at $10 to $15 a pound, I can make a pretty decent profit. Now, even throwing in the 135.26 shipping, which, considering we're talking almost 70 pounds of chips here, and it'll probably be over 70 pounds of packaging, this is not really an unreasonable shipping charge. So, at first glance, this looks like a pretty good deal, but you got to look at the photos. And if we look in the photos, well, it's not looking like such a good deal when you look in the photos. There are a lot of transistors mixed in with these IC chips. I would guess that, half of the stuff in the pictures is really transistors, not IC chips. And the transistors add a lot of weight to this, but very little, if any, gold. So you got to figure half this stuff is really almost worthless. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of copper in them, in the heat sinks and in the legs and whatnot. But really, you're paying for gold here, and you're just not getting it with this. So I mean, the mix of IC chips is not bad. The ones that I can see, yeah, there's some 14, 16, 18 pin dips in there which don't have much gold in them, but there's also a lot of flat packs with 50, 60, 80 legs on them. So, there's going to be a lot of bond wires in those. So if this was just, 69 pounds of these kind of IC chips, I think it would be worth it to buy this. But since it looks like it's at least half transistors, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. I think it is way overpriced. They do take offers, but I think they would be insulted if I offered half of what they're asking and probably, wouldn't want to deal with me further. But I think basically this stuff's worth no more than half of what they're asking and maybe even less. So, that's this first listing. We'll look at some others. All right, and here's the next listing we're going to have a look at. Well, this seller, all I can say is they are shooting for the moon. They're looking for a sucker. 16 pounds, 11 ounces for $650. You add in shipping, you're talking almost $40 a pound for these chips. And these chips, they're nothing special. They are not worth $40 a pound. Nowhere near. I mean, it looks like we got some big flat packs. It looks like I can see a lot of ceramic EPROMs in there, but there's a lot of like 40-pin dual inline packages. There's really nothing special there. Nothing that's going to, render down to a lot of gold. I mean, this stuff is average at best. So yeah, it's just crazy. Okay, some of the ceramic EPROMs, obviously, they're going to have some gold in them, pretty good gold, but there's just not enough here to justify the kind of price they're asking. So this is a total non-starter with me. I see this as a joke listing. I think they will be very lucky if they ever sell it at even half or a third or a quarter the price they're asking. Okay, now here is another listing, and this one is much more reasonable. Although it's a little unclear exactly what you're getting. Now the title is 7.255 pound scrap RAM IC chips for gold recovery. They're asking $89.99, and they take offers, so you might be able to get them cheaper than that. Now they say RAM, and RAM chips are among the best for gold recovery. Problem is, and the picture's kind of blurry, so you can't really be sure what you're getting here. These are not RAM chips. These are just miscellaneous logic chips. Now there is a baggie of something here. Maybe the RAM chips are in the baggie, but I can't really tell what they are. I mean, they kind of even look like maybe transistors, but it's hard to tell. So you kind of get a pig and a poke here. They didn't take good photos. It's not really clear what you're getting. The price seems pretty reasonable, but when the package arrives and you open it up, who knows what you actually got? So it's a bit of a gamble. And I've been known to gamble on eBay, and sometimes I've made out well, and sometimes I've lost my shirt. So I don't do as much gambling anymore. It's I tend to stick with what really looks like a good deal and buy that. This I just can't tell. There's just not enough information here in the photos and the description to tell whether this is a good deal or not. And the shipping's a little high for only 7 pounds of stuff coming domestically in the U.S. So yeah, I think I'll pass on this one too. All right, so here's another listing. And again, this one looks pretty reasonable. 12 plus pounds, 5.58 kilograms, scrap electronic IC chips for precious metal recovery, ceramic EPROMs. Okay, $150 for 12 plus pounds, 1650 is not terribly excessive shipping. That's about the price of a medium flat rate box. And the pictures are pretty good. You see what you're getting. You got a lot of ceramic EPROMs here. And ceramic EPROMs, especially the older ones, and I see some older ones in the bag, can have pretty good gold. And it looks like we've got not just EPROMs. It looks like we've got other kinds of ceramic IC chips too. And ceramic IC chips can have good gold in them. They can have a lot of good gold in them. And this might actually be a pretty good deal. Especially if you come down here, let's see. For sale, a large lot of scrap ceramic IC chips for gold and precious metal recoveries that are mostly EPROMs from the 80s and 90s, but there's some other types of ceramic chips mixed in, yada, yada. Okay. So this could probably be a pretty good deal for somebody. Now, my particular process is geared towards plastic IC chips. I'm still doing R&D on the best way to get the gold out of the ceramics because they're a different animal altogether than the plastic IC chips. And there's a wide variety of ceramics here. I mean, it looks like we got maybe some big power amplifier modules and maybe some little RAM chips and a lot of EPROMs and maybe some processors. Who knows what they all are. But yeah, my process is geared towards, like I say, plastic IC chips. So these are all ceramic. So I'm going to have to pass on these. Although I think this looks like it could be a pretty good deal for somebody who's into processing the ceramic ICs. Who was it? I saw some videos by somebody. I think it was like Successful Engineer. I think he has some videos on processing ceramic IC chips, and it's really something I need to get more into. But for now, I'm going to have to pass on this. Here's another listing that's kind of interesting. Scrap recovery for gold IC chips, 10 pounds, $490. Now, The reason I find this kind of interesting, even though we're talking like almost $50 a pound for this stuff, it's actually over 50 adding in the shipping, which is a little high. This is clearly a flat rate box, so it doesn't cost $20. Probably a medium-sized flat rate box, I would say. It doesn't cost $20 to ship that. But what I find interesting about this listing is that I wish there were better photos. Basically, there's only got one photo on this listing, but these chips look like um, maybe DDR2, DDR3 type RAM chips that would come off of RAM sticks. Looks like they still have their legs. But yeah, so these are actually pretty good chips for gold recovery. Um, but of course, you're just looking at what's on top. Who knows what's underneath? It's again, it's a bit of a pig in a poke situation. But from what's on top, it looks pretty good. This is something that I would almost be tempted to take a chance on at $50 a pound, but I think it's just a little bit high. So they don't take offers. Um, but one trick I have found on eBay is if I was just put something on my watch list, quite often within a day or two of putting something on my watch list, the seller will send me a lower price offer. That happens a lot. So if I see something that I'm a little bit interested in, but I think the price is kind of too high, I'll just put it on my watch list and see if I get an offer. And about half the time I do. And sometimes the offers are pretty darn reasonable, and they often allow you to make a counter offer. So they'll give you a lower offer. The guy might send me an offer for $450, and it might allow counter offers, and I might counter it 425 or something like that and see if he'll take it. Although I think even that would be a little high for these chips since we don't really know what we're getting in this box. The stuff on top looks pretty good. If it's like that all the way to the bottom, yeah, it might be okay, but it's just too much of a pig in the poke, too much of a gamble. There's better stuff out there, so I'm going to move along. All right, so here's the next listing, and at first glance it seems a little pricey. 10 pounds of scrap, EPROMs and IC chips for gold refining, vintage ceramic scrap chips, $260. But we got free shipping, which is nice. And looking at the photos don't really match the description. Um, I don't see a lot of ceramic chips in here. Certainly not a lot of ceramic EPROMs. Now, maybe there's a bunch of them in there that just not seen in their photos. What I do see is a pretty darn good average mix of plastic IC chips. There's probably some ceramics mixed in. In fact, I think I see the corner of a ceramic one there poking out. Um, so this actually, since my process is geared, well, there's a ceramic one there too. But they look mostly like plastic chips. Now, my process is geared towards plastic chips. So even though this says ceramic, these look like mostly plastic. But you never know. There might be a whole lot of ceramics mixed in there that just aren't showing up. Now, like I say, the price is a little high, but they do take offers, which is nice. Plus, I can do my trick of just adding it to my watch list and see if I get an offer from the seller. But there is one other thing about this that's kind of intriguing. It looks like the legs on a lot of these chips have been trimmed shorter. They're not completely trimmed back to the package, but they have been trimmed. They were cut off the board somehow. So what that tells me is there's less scrap metal. There's less junk metal mixed in with these IC chips than on your average ones that have been pulled out of sockets or depopulated from boards with heat or whatever, and they've come out whole. Somebody has cut these off the boards, and they've left a lot of the junk metal behind. So even though we're only getting 10 pounds worth of chips, we're probably actually getting more chips per pound than we would if we were getting, chips that were salvaged from sockets or depopulated. So this is actually, that makes this actually somewhat of a better deal than it looks like at first glance. And, it really looks like there's a lot more plastic here than ceramic. In fact, the ceramics are kind of rare. I see one ceramic in this photo for sure. Um, uh, I don't see an obvious ceramic in this photo. Okay, there's one ceramic, one obvious ceramic in this one. The rest of it all looks like plastic. So this actually would be possibly a good deal if we could get the price down a little bit. Make them an offer and get it. Again, it's going to be a bit of a pig in a poke, but this is starting to look like, less of a gamble than some of the other listings that we've looked at. This one actually has potential, I would say. Alrighty, so here's another listing, and this one is, well, just looking at the title and the price, it looks pretty reasonable. I don't know why they started. I don't know why they have the main photo, a photo of an empty box. I mean, that's not good marketing. You'd want to move your best photo and make it your first photo. But if we look, and in the shipping, 22.95 is actually pretty good, seeing as 22 pounds. They're probably going to be using a large flat rate box. So, you're actually getting a deal there because it costs more than that to ship a large flat rate box. So, um, so 22 pounds of vintage plastic IC chips. Plastic, that's the kind I need for my process. Vintage is good because older tends to be better to a certain extent. Um, so this at first glance looks pretty good. This photo looks okay. You know what I do see in this photo, and then if I go to this other photo, it's a little closer in, I do see the photos are good enough that I can actually see what some of these chips are. And some of these are vintage chips that are, some of them are very useful in retro computing. I see 8155 up there. I can use that in my retro computing projects if it's good. And you know what? My experience with buying used IC chips is as long as they weren't taken off the board with like a chipping hammer, they're usually good. As long as they have all their legs and they're not broken or bent so bad you can't straighten them. If you test them, the chips usually work. So, that's a second outlet for me for the chips. Not only can I render them down for their gold, silver, platinum, palladium, whatever, but I can reuse a lot of them for my retro computing projects. And I have even resold some working chips, working tested, guaranteed good chips that are rare, valuable, in demand. So that's a possibility. I look at this picture here and I see chips. I see this big one over here is probably a Motorola 68,000 processor, I would imagine. You know, as long as it works, it's worth a few bucks. It might be a 10 or a 20 or a 30 rather than it might be worth a little bit more. Um, I see some Rockwell chips. Hey, look, I thought I saw. Yeah. So, yeah, there looks like there's some good stuff here. Now, there are some negatives too with this listing. Not everything in here is an IC chip. I see, let's see, one, two, three, one, two, three, at least three, and maybe the corner of another one. TO3 transistor packages. They are big, heavy metal transistors. And they're going to add a lot to the weight of this while adding absolutely zero gold. So, yeah, that's a big negative. I also see other stuff in here that's not IC chips. I see sockets. I see resistor networks. I see something up in the upper right corner. I don't know what that is, but it's probably not an IC chip. I see also magnetics. Um, there's a Dallas real-time clock or battery-backed RAM unit in there. It's going to be really, really heavy, but you can't really process it because it's got a battery in it and it's going to explode. So it's just dead weight, basically. I see, the ink connector ribbon from a printer, probably an HP printer by the looks of it. There'll be a little gold on that, so that's actually a plus. But most of these other things in here are minuses. They add a lot of weight and volume to it without really adding gold. So there's pluses and minuses. Also, these are almost all dual inline packages. Yeah, almost all dual inline packages. So, those are not the best for gold. I would like to see a lot of flat packs mixed in, there's the occasional gold corner BGA. Any kind of BGA would be nice, but nah. Oh, there's an edge card connector socket too. So there'll be a little bit of gold in that, but not much. So really, not the best selection of stuff here. I mean, I would buy it just to pull out old chips for my retro computing if I didn't already have a ton of them. I have a literal ton of them already sorted out of chips I've collected over the years and tested and organized and in bins. I can just pull out one when I need it. So I pretty much don't buy chips just to get reusable chips out of them anymore because I have so many already. So I buy chips just for the gold. So, with all the extra stuff in here, not the greatest quality chips that are in here, and not needing any more vintage chips for my retro computing, I think I'm going to pass on this. Although, you could probably make an offer and get these pretty cheap, even down to the level where it would be possible to make a decent profit on it. But again, there's better stuff out there. So let's take a look at something else. Okay, so here is another listing, and this one is quite interesting. Now, I kind of overlooked this one at first. £8 for $290 with $20 shipping. It's like, that's kind of pricey, So I think I overlooked this for a while, and then I came back and I took a second look at it. And if you look at it in detail, well, the seller has done a lot of work here, and they've really broken down what you're getting very well. So this first photo here is a bunch of RAM chips, DDR2-3 RAM BGA chips. Now these are BGAs; they don't have legs on them, so they're not very heavy. So you're getting a lot of chips here for your 3.529 pounds of chips. There's going to be a lot of chips there. And RAM BGAs, in my experience, have pretty good gold in them. I've got, about a gram out of a pound of them in the past, and might even be able to do better than that. So I'm looking at it thinking, okay, so that's like 3.5 grams right there of gold. That's a good chunk of the price just in this first photo. But then we look at some of these other photos. So we got some more DDR RAM chips. These are the legged ones. These have legs, so you don't get as many. But the seller has already trimmed the legs off. So they've done, some of the work for you. You're not selling you just, junk base metal. They've taken the legs off. I was like, whoa, that's kind of nice. You're basically getting more for your money that way. You're getting more chip and less base metal. So, okay, not quite 300 grams or 0.6 pounds. This should still be good for, a fair amount of gold out of this little bit, maybe as much as a third of a gram. Okay, so it's starting to add up. And then this next photo, what do we got here? Mixed flat ICs, flat packs, almost, a kilogram, 2.16 pounds. So, there's gonna be a fair amount of gold in that stuff too. Okay, it's really starting to add up here. And then the next photo, look at this, Gold Corner BGAs, tops only. He's already peeled the tops off. So he's just selling you the tops, not the dead weight bottoms, which I just released a video on attempting to get gold out of the bottoms of BGAs. And there's really not enough there to bother with. I'll put a link to the video up in the upper right corner. You can check it out if you like. I'll also put a link to it in the description. But it's really not worth the effort. But the tops are a different story. Now, in my experience, as long as they're not the kind that have the big, heavy copper heat sink in them, and I don't see any of those here, though a lot of them are, it's hard to tell. They're in the stack. But as long as they don't have that big, heavy copper heat sink in them, they can be 1 to 1.1% gold by weight. So what do we got here? We got almost 200 grams. That's almost 2 grams of gold in that pile, potentially, right there. Wow, this is really starting to add up. And what do we got here? Heavy flat packs for the most part. So inline packages. But again, the legs have been trimmed. Wow. Okay, somebody's already done some of the work. Don't have to do that. We've got, more chip, less junk metal. So that's cool. So, it's not going to be great for gold recovery, but there's going to be some gold there and less work. And then lastly, what do we got here? Miscellaneous ICs untrimmed. So we got, some small flat packs. We got some dual inline packages. So not going to get a whole lot of gold out of this, but again, there's some. About half a pound worth. Okay. All right. So what I did was I got out a piece of scrap paper and I did some literal back of the envelope calculations. So yeah, I got out a scrap piece of paper and I started taking some notes and doing some ciphering that would make Jethro Bodine proud. So I went back through each picture and I did my best estimate based on my experience with that particular type of chip about how much gold I would get out of that stack of chips. And I was pretty conservative here. I wasn't wildly overestimating. I was being conservative. So in the first picture, that big pile of BGA RAM chips, I figured was probably good for about 3.5 grams of gold. The trimmed DDR RAM chips, I figured I could get at least 1/3 of a gram out of them. The mixed flats, I figured were probably good for close to 0.5 gram, maybe. The Gold Corner BGA tops, I think we're right around 2 grams on those. Might even do better than that. The heavy flats, well, I'm probably thinking, maybe a little less than 1/3 of a gram. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get some more. The miscellaneous ICs, maybe only 1/10 of a gram or so. A few of them might be reusable for my retro computing projects, but I'm not buying them for that. If they just happen to be okay, that's a bonus. So, added up, that 6.73 grams, I figure I can get out of those chips. And at the time of this video, gold was hovering around $57.50 a gram. So that's $386.98, I figure, worth of gold in those chips. And the guy's asking $290. I mean, such a deal. Okay, so his price here, his original price, $290, was about $97 under the value of the gold. Now, I'm going to have some chemicals, I'm going to have some labor. Still, I would think I would make a profit. But he took offers. So, cheap SOB that I am, I shot him an offer rather than just paying the full price up front. I offered $250. He came back with a counter offer of $275. And rather than just dicker around with him forever, I just went ahead and took the $275 offer. So, as you can see, sold for, best offer accepted. That was me. I bought these chips. And they are right now winging their way to me through the rusty, trusty wheels of the U.S. Postal System, and should probably be here later today or Monday. This is a Saturday. So if they don't arrive today, they'll arrive on Monday. So I think I got a good deal. I'll unpack them and take a good look at them. And, if they're not everything I expected them to be, I'll make another video and I'll let you know. But, if they're everything that they are in the video, in the photos here, I think I got a pretty good deal. And I will put them in the queue for processing. And over the next weeks, months, they will get processed and I will get the gold out of them and I will be a happy camper, I am sure. Since I bought gold for about $112 under its actual value. So, yes, I'm a happy camper. So, okay. I don't know why I made this video because now I've showed everyone the secret of getting cheap chips on eBay and I will probably never get cheap chips on eBay again. Immediately forget you watched this video. Just do me a favor and forget you watched it. But if you found this video interesting, informative, educational, whatever, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to see future videos. There'll be lots of future videos coming out, including on processing chips to get their gold. So press the little bell icon that YouTube makes you press to be informed when those videos come out so you can see how I process chips, including maybe these chips here. And thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye.